What is going on, everybody? Welcome in. Happy Friday. Daily Dime here at FTNFantasy.com. My name is Zac Graham, aka Kaweisenberg DFS, joined once again for the first time since Christmas by my good buddy Alex Blickle. Alex, how's your holiday week been, man?
Holiday week has been good, especially good because you had that enormous Christmas day over on Underdog. So shout out to you for that big giant hit. Not just one hit. That was like, how many different hits did you actually have over on Underdog that day?
I don't remember the count, but it was like close to 20, something like that. Yeah, it was a great Christmas day. And then, man, like a Dyson Daniels stocks pick away from another giant night last night. I think 8 of 9 on the total picks between the stream and what I gave out in the Pick'em Games channel. So I have a number of picks to talk about here today. Like, we are not short on the props here this morning. So, and I know that you're going on Sirius in about 30 minutes. So we'll rip through those picks. We'll talk about what I think is shaping up to be a very interesting DFS slate as well. Good to see our buddy Zed in here. Zed, I'm sure you're looking quite dapper as well, my friend. Alex, we are getting some news here on the 12:30 injury report. Zaire Williams is out, kind of expected that, but Dorian Finney-Smith on the second end of the back-to-back questionable. Ben Simmons, unsurprisingly, out, even though they said, oh, he might have a chance to play. Not ending the streak of not playing back-to-backs here tonight. Obi Toppin out, kind of as expected. We already had him projected out. Nickeil Alexander-Walker now listed questionable with the midday illness tag. So we can add that into the mix here as we jump into the picks. And I know that you are still in Pennsylvania, so I will go ahead and share my screen here again this morning. Let's get a couple zooms for those watching here on the YouTube. And I'm going to continue to steer this ship, Alex. Let me take us into the first pick. And I actually want to start with Knicks and Magic, and I want to talk Goga Bitadze and his rebounds prop. It's set at 9.5 here this morning on Underdog. We've got him projected, like, this is not the strongest projection in the model, but if we're going to attack Goga, I really like doing it on the boards here. He's averaging just 8.3 rebounds per game, but again, this is a guy who has not started all of his games this season, has been involved in blowouts on either end, right? Either blowing teams out or getting run off the floor themselves, and averaging just that 24.2 minutes per game on the season. But not just Paolo and Franz out. Now Mo Wagner is out with the torn ACL. So, like, I think we see going forward, again, barring blowouts, and I think we should be cognizant of the line here. I believe the Knicks are 9-point favorites here. 7-point road favorites here, 213.5 implied total. But if this is this game is a single-digit margin in the fourth quarter, we're going to get full minutes. And I think full minutes in Goga's case now means like upper 20s and maybe cresting 30, as we've seen him do a couple times in the last 4 games. He's over this number, Alex, in all 10 games that he's played 27 or more minutes this season. So with that minutes floor now raised on a game-to-game basis, I think this number against almost anybody is too low. Because again, like, the Knicks are one of the better rebounding teams in the league, but he had 11 rebounds in just under 25 minutes 2 weeks ago against this Knicks team, and he lost a potential 4 minutes and 24 seconds to garbage time. So, like, again, if this game stays close, it's just the 7-point spread. Like, all signs point to Goga Bitadze 9.5 rebounds being a line that is entirely too low.
Yeah, our guy Sam Chowdhury yesterday had Goga at 10.5, over 10.5. At like minus 140 something.
Yeah.
So shows you, like, yeah, look, the matchup's being fully priced in. We know how sharp Sam is, and this seems very solid to me as well.
So then I want to go over to the Spurs, and I think this line shifted. So Jeremy Sohan was posted at 24.5 in terms of his PRA. This is a guy, right? Like, if you've been tuning into the Daily Dime, you've heard me talk about Sohan and how I feel like the books are a little bit slow on the uptake here with some of his props. His rebounds line against the Knicks on Christmas Day was the first one that we went after. I was looking at his 24.5 PRA here, right? He's averaging 26.4 PRA per game on the season in 29.3 minutes per game, right? Missed like 4.5 weeks with the broken hand. So he's still got a pretty small sample size this season. And when Jeremy Sohan has been cleared for full minutes, he's playing like 32, 33. And again, he's blowing this 24.5 number out of the water. So over that 24.5 number, which I believe you can still get on Prize Picks in 4 of his last 5 games, and the one miss he had 22 PRA through 3 quarters against the Blazers when we know we had that number, right? And I think it was the rebounds that night as well, but we have him projected for 26.54 PRA here in the model this morning. And again, I still like this number at 25.5. Like, I also think, like, if you want to get spicy, I haven't put this in yet, but that double number is hovering at 1.65 ish right there. And I don't hate that either. Because Brooklyn has not been a great rebounding team either this season. And they're losing Ben Simmons, which is some size, right? Even though he's been playing kind of that point forward, point guard role with starting next to Claxton. So again, 25.5 PRA on Sohan on Underdog. I don't have any of those in yet because I got all my 3 picks in right before this went up. So I have the 24.5. So if you're on Prize Picks, I love that pick. I still like it here on Underdog, but now I'm going to prefer actually one of 2 different Victor Wembanyama props here tonight. And I think the safer one, certainly by just looking at the odds that Underdog is giving us, is either going to the 3.5 blocks or the 4.5 stocks. And now I think that, like, through our process here this year, right, we've tried to target the stocks when we can because we know statisticians can be, right? Like, there are 30 different human statisticians, right, in the league, and they judge blocks and steals on some of these plays a little bit differently. So we feel a little bit safer sometimes with the 4.5 blocks plus steals. But I like the 3.5 blocks just as much this morning. Victor is averaging 4 blocks per game on the season now. He is, and I'll talk about this 16-game sample. If you saw me on I don't have like organic tweets a lot, Alex, but like over the last year and a half, usually they're about Wembanyama. He's 4.1 blocks per game in his last 16 games. That is, 20% of a regular season. We've got him projected for 4.58 blocks alone here this morning. And Brooklyn gets blocked at the 3rd highest rate in the NBA. So, like, I kind of like just the 3.5 blocks. No, like the 4.5 stocks looks almost identical to me because we have him for over 5.5 stocks. And obviously a hair over 4.5 blocks here this morning. So I've been putting in the blocks number. No issue if you I think you may prefer the stocks here, but I love both of them. So that would be my first Wemby play. Are you on the stocks over just the blocks themselves?
I think I'm still stocks. And there are a couple reasons for this. Number one is the one that you said, but I also think the variance with his, or the volatility, I should say, with his blocks has been so high that it's been like really rare that he gets there on the blocks department, but not the stocks department on just blocks alone. Yeah. Right. And so then you add in the fact that he does have games where he's racking up a bunch of steals where we could see like 4 steals, 1 block. It's not completely out of the question. I think part of that too is because some teams go into the game with kind of a determination to not get blocked by Wembanyama, whereas most teams are just like, we'll see what happens. And I can't remember who it was who said it the other night. It might have been Steph, but he was like, look, you don't understand how quick he is and how much ground he can cover at the last moment, where you think like, oh, he's not going to get this one, and then he gets it easily. So that's why he's still racking them up, even though people are so afraid of the stocks from him. But yeah, I just think it's such an advantageous line on either of them that we just want the one with the lower amount of variance, and that's stocks.
Yeah, no, and that makes sense to me. But like, let me try to sell you on what I think is not a sneaky pick here, but I like this 3.5 threes made. You're getting a 1.16x on the higher than 3.5 threes made. And so, like, let's dive a little bit deeper into that 16-game sample size. Since November 9th, Wembanyama is making 4.4 threes per game, shooting 40% on 11 attempts per game. Alex, 4.4 threes made per game is 3rd best in the league since November 9th. Like, that is insanity. Brooklyn allows the 4th highest opponent 3-point percentage on the season. He is over this number in 11 of those last 16 games. One of the 5 games he missed in was a minutes restricted 25.5-minute outing, coming back from one of the 2 short injury spells that he had. And so, like, you're going to get the attempts here. Like we've seen that over this lengthy stretch. And right, like you can, if Wembanyama wants to take 12 threes, he's going to get them. You can't stop him from attempting these threes. And so like we've got him projected for 3.7 makes with 10 attempts in the model here this morning. But I just think with that extra 1.16x multiplier, I like this one a good bit because he's just like, again, this is a 20% of a regular season sample size. I think it's fair enough to say like the volume is here for real because we saw the volume in the first 9 games of the season. He just shot like shit. It was like 22%, but like clearly he has turned that around here in a not insignificant sample. So again, you can attack Wemby from multiple angles this morning. I have 3 pick entries in with the threes made and with the stocks.
Yeah, I like this threes number. I think a key point on the threes, he came out last game, 0 for 4 in his first rotation from 3. Comes out in his second rotation, misses a 22-foot jumper. What does he do next possession? Takes and makes another 3. So like sometimes when you see a guy with this much of a spike and both made threes of late and volume of late, you think, oh, he's shooting hot. And as soon as he starts missing, the volume's going to go away. No, it didn't. So I really like that aspect of it. Like you said, we know the volume's going to be there, even if he doesn't start the game well from distance. So that's I think a key point. Zed, I would not use the 2-2-2 bonus bet on Goga. You and I can DM more about that, but I think you always want to use bonus bets because when you have a bonus bet, you're not getting back what you are betting. So like typically if you bet $222 on something and it hit, you would get back the winnings plus your 222.
Right.
With the bonus bet, you don't get that 222 back, which means mathematically you want it to be a higher odds thing. Yeah, it's less likely to hit, but it's just a much, much, much better play to do something high odds. So we can talk about some PBA outrights. You can string together some of these, like maybe you make it a parlay, something like that. But yeah, we will. We'll talk more about that, and that's an open invitation for all our subscribers, by the way. Anytime you guys have questions and you have like unique situations that you want our input on, you want to talk through, but it's not something that the whole community is going to be interested in hearing about, just DM us. We're always happy to hear from you guys in Discord.
Yeah, absolutely. And like maybe we have, I know, like, look, NFL Sunday, of course. We have 3 Saturday games as well, so I'm sure you'll be diving into that, whether it's in the Discord on the Sunday morning stream for those Sunday games, what have you. And look, we've got a couple of. Go ahead, yeah.
In fact, we talked a little bit about this before stream, but
yeah,
I think one of the highest probability plays that has existed all season in the NFL and Underdog is happening this week. It's a receiving yardage prop on Sunday from one of the bigger name players on the slate. Certainly, like he will be popular on DraftKings, very, very popular on DraftKings this week. It's receiving yards over. If anyone can guess it here live in the chat, we will give it out on this show. Otherwise, we can just save it for the subscribers in the Discord. So if you guys want to put those guesses in the live chat here on YouTube, go ahead and do so. And maybe we give out some NFL plays here as well.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one. I know what it is. I haven't put it in yet. So as soon as the stream is over, we will be talking more about that. But let's go through the rest of these NBA picks here today because I have at least another trio here on Underdog. I want to go to some of the late games here. We've got the Cavs visiting the Nuggets and Jokic, his points props at 27.5. I think this is too low. The model agrees. We've got him projected for north of 30, which is in line, right? Averaging 30.5 points per game on the season, 37.2 minutes across his 25 appearances. He's over this number of 27.5 in 15 of his 25 games. Again, 3-point home underdogs to the Cavs. This is expected to be a competitive game in Denver. They already played in Cleveland this season on December 5th. And Jokic, like as he does with a lot of teams, but like Cavs are up, this is the number 1 team, I think, record-wise in the league. Jokic had, 27 points, 20 boards, 11 assists, and 3 steals on 13 of 26 shooting. But like you notice, he came up short. We would have got hooked in that game at this number. But I do think maybe I need to go watch some more film from that game, but I think this was a bit of an outlier for 2 factors, Alex. Only game this season where Nikola Jokic attempted a 3, but didn't make a 3. He was just 0 for 1. And it was the only game this season where he didn't attempt at least 2 free throws. So it was the outlier for him not getting fouled. He got to the free throw line one time and was 0 for 1 from 3. And we know this is a guy who's not only shooting and making more threes this season, but I believe still leading the NBA in 3-point percentage among qualified players. So again, I think this number is just a bit too low. We know Aaron Gordon is out as well. So you're putting Peyton Watson into the starting lineup, which does not hurt the usage for a guy like Jokic. So again, with the model in such strong agreement, I'm a big fan of Jokic over 27.5 points here tonight at home against the Cavs.
Just keep it rolling. Where are you going next?
Next one, another one of these late games. This is actually the not quite the late night hammer. I think that's Clippers and Warriors, but Quentin Grimes, speaking of teams that are shorthanded, right? No Luka for at least the next month. So I want Grimes here against Phoenix. Now this is on the road, right? The Mavs are 1-point road dogs, 224 implied total here. Quentin Grimes should slot right into this Dallas starting lineup. He's averaging 9.1 points per game on the season and just shy of 21 minutes per game. But in those 9 starts, he's over this number in 6 of those 9 starts. And without Luka this year, 7 games over in 5 of them. Again, I expect him to slot right into the starting lineup. He did start the second half against the Wolves on Christmas Day. And we've got him projected for 12.4 points here in the FTN fantasy model here this morning. So I'm a fan of Quentin Grimes. Some of these overs, Alex, are like 20-plus point games. So if we're looking for a ladder opportunity here this morning, I don't hate looking at Quentin Grimes' points.
Yeah, I'm with it. I think it's
like
I'm not sure which one I prefer. I feel like we have enough picks here that we don't need to go the ladder too much, at least on 6-pick plays. But maybe you make the 6-pick plays all the baseline, and then on 3-pick plays where you're including Grimes, maybe then you go to the ladder instead.
Yeah, I mean, Quentin Grimes, so this 19.5 is 5.11x. In his 9 starts, he's over this number in 3 of them. So I do not hate laddering that one all the way up in some entries. Probably going to get into that here in a bit. Now, this is of the 6 picks that we've talked about here. I should have clicked in that Jeremy Sohan. I'll do that now because I'm still fine with that at the 25.5 number. But you saw me pull up Desmond Bane. Let's talk about Desmond Bane. Grizzlies, one of the, I think, 6 teams on the second end of a back-to-back set here tonight, which, again, like with most teams not playing on Christmas and then 8 games or 9 games last night, why are half the teams from last night playing again today? I don't get it. But Desmond Bane and his rebound line set at 5.5. And now this is one where the model is higher on Bane than I think I am, but looking deeper into it, because I see this number in the model and how much it's recommending it, and I wanted to look more. So he's averaging 5.9 rebounds per game through his 23 appearances. Of course, we know that rotation has been flattened all season from Coach Taylor Jenkins there in Memphis, so just 28 minutes per game. But he's over this number in 13 of his 23 appearances, including one of those 10 misses coming in the one game Bane came off the bench returning from injury. He's projected for 7.5 rebounds in the model here this morning. So again, like that feels a little bit hot to me. The Grizzlies are 9-point road favorites here. The Pelicans, home team, also on the second end of a back-to-back. Would not be surprised to see a Trey Murphy, somebody like that, sit out here after he came into last night's game questionable. But those Pelicans give up the 4th most rebounds to opposing teams, just behind Washington, OKC, and Chicago this year. So even in the limited time, I think we've got Bane projected for 30 minutes here this morning. The model loves this over pick. And again, maybe I'm not as high on it as the FTN fantasy model is here this morning, but I do think this is a solid higher than pick to round out a 6-pick play here this morning. But again, any other picks I find once we get those fantasy score props, I will post those into the chat for our subscribers as per usual. Any other comments, questions, anything from you on these picks?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of my own priority on these. Like, I think Wemby stocks is number 1 for me. Okay. Number 2, I'll actually give out one NFL pick for tomorrow. This is not the 90% play. The one I'll give for tomorrow is Jaleel McLaughlin over on rushing yards. It's at like 27.5, something like that. And the last time we saw him on the field, last time we saw him healthy, he was the RB1. And this is actually a very, very good rushing matchup against Cincinnati. So I do think there's a chance that Audric Estime earned himself a larger role, and maybe it's more of a split between Estime and McLaughlin, but we know McLaughlin's going to get some run here. So I love that over for him. I would expect him to be the RB1, but I think at worst case, he's the RB2 when it comes to rushing, and maybe they just use Javonte in the pass down role. So I would probably put McLaughlin second and then maybe Goga third. But I'm curious to hear your top three here.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on Wemby and the stocks being the move. Again, I have both the stocks and the threes in my kind of round robin picks here this morning. Yeah. I think I go Goga 2, and then I'm not going to prioritize the NFL picks. Like, I'm just going to trust you on that. Goga 2, Grimes 3 for me. Sohan would have been up there at 24.5. So on Prize Picks, I would prioritize him. And then I actually do have a pair of Prize Picks props that I already have in over there this morning. First, Peyton Watson over 1.5 stocks. I was really hoping we were going to get this on Underdog, so I'll keep my eye on it. He should slot in for Aaron Gordon in this starting lineup, averaging 1.7 stocks per game, in 23.9 minutes per game through 28 games and 12 starts. But he's over in 8 of those 12 starts in terms of the 1.5 stocks line. So I love that over there on Prize Picks. And then Zach Edey over 28 fantasy score. We've got him projected for a hair over 30 in the model here. And what puts that over the top for me is the fact that Zach Edey has been getting blowout run over the last couple games. And this is a 9-point spread in favor of the visiting Grizzlies here. So if we do get some guys sitting on the Pels side, maybe it's a mass rest scenario here and we get that Birmingham Pelicans rotation out there again, which would be fun for DFS or, maybe not so fun depending on how you look at it, but would be great for Zach Edey. So I do have him in an entry over there on Prize Picks this morning. Anything else for you on props, or I can run through some DFS talk? I know we got to get you out of here in about 5 minutes.
Well, what I'll say is, as you bring up the GPP scores and ownership projections, I'll just talk for a moment about PGA Best Ball. We launched our rankings at the end of last week, and I just dropped a strategy article this morning. A lot of just general strategy about it, kind of what is similar and what's different about PGA Best Ball versus NFL Best Ball. There's some pretty obvious similarities and differences, and then there's some that are actually a little bit more subtle but very impactful. So I think there's a huge strategy edge, and then the strategy article also just has some of the guys that I've been drafting a ton of. So even if you know nothing about PGA, I think you can go use our rankings, use that article, and it takes 5 minutes to do each draft. It's so much fun because you only have to draft 10 guys. You're only up against 5 other people, 6 people per draft. So you can start them, finish them in 5 to 10 minutes. So much fun to run through, and it gets you even that much more excited about the PGA season ahead. So I can't wait for PGA starts next week, and we're just flying right into it. So we got some NBA to talk about here, but don't forget, this is the best time of year. We only have a few weeks of it, but real NFL slates overlapped with NBA DFS and PGA DFS. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and I know on the baseball side, we've got all kinds of content been zooming out here at FTN Fantasy. On that side, good to see free sauce in here. So what's good, y'all? And said had to leave for a second using the 6 picks in a 6-man, then doing 3-mans with them as well. That is what I did, and my 3-mans do not have the Desmond Bain pick in there. That is just what rounded out my 6 pick on Underdog. Just for transparency's sake there. Real quick on the DFS slates here. I know he came up short on Christmas Day. Devin Vassell looks fantastic again really on both sites, but on DraftKings, I believe he is the highest owned player. He is here in the morning run. I am Jokic over Wemby tonight. If you're spending up at center, I believe they're now just $800 apart. 11.8 for Jokic, 11K flat for Wemby. And you can see in terms of the GPP score, Jokic number 1. And I think it's telling that he's a little bit more than 3 times Wemby's projected ownership and still getting the better GPP score. Just projects better tonight. And you're just getting into the very similar price range now. So I don't think we're going to be hurting for value. We've already got some great spots. Vassell is one of them again, but the attention being paid there already. I think Sohan in the low 6Ks also is interesting in tournaments, especially on DraftKings where you can get that double-double bonus, which I think he's very live for pretty much any time he steps on the court right now. Keldon Johnson also down to 4K. All right, you got me, DraftKings. I'll consider him tonight, even in this limited role. Warriors, no Steph. So Schroeder. Kuminga, I think, is maybe my favorite play on the slate as a whole because of how relatively unowned he is. You sort this by ownership. You see Schroeder, Podziemski, Wiggins, the top 3 owned Warriors, and I get it for all those guys. But Jonathan Kuminga, 18% on this slate at 5,500. This guy's going to have all the shots he wants in the world with no Steph. So I love Kuminga on both sites, especially relative to ownership. He is one of, if not my top play at the moment. I think Durant is a great spend once again against the Mavericks. No Luka, no Booker on the Phoenix side. I also think Nurkic is an interesting FanDuel pivot at center. So if I can bounce back and forth between the two, FanDuel at center, Edey looks great. I think 5,500. Claxton also an interesting pivot there. I think if I'm not going to Jokic for my center spot on FanDuel, I'm living in that mid 5K to I think Nurk is 6K exactly, living in that range here tonight. I think DraftKings, Memphis priced pretty advantageously. We have to see their injury report as well. Taking shots on these Celtics against the Pacers, not a bad idea. You've got a Q tag on Drew, Q tag on KP, so you may be shorthanded there. Other notes on FanDuel, Dinwiddie and PJ Washington look like interesting tournament plays to me. Trace Jackson Davis with his power forward eligibility on FanDuel, I think is notable. He is also a value play on DraftKings. DeJounte Murray, I like in tournaments on both sites. And then I love to see that in the GPP scores that he's second on DraftKings. So backing up my thinking there at that $8,500 price tag. I think on both sites, he's got some tournament winning upside, even as nearly double-digit dogs, as long as he plays. And the last thing in this long-winded diatribe, Alex, if Trevelin Queen is going to continue to play 35-plus minutes, he is a value option. You need to see Gary Harris out to feel real good about that one, or to feel good about the minutes. You're probably never going to feel real good about the production profile, but he's cheap enough where he's going to be in my player pool if things stay the way they are. Again, we're still missing multiple injury reports, so things can and will change leading up to lock tonight with so many back-to-backs. I think it's going to be a really fun slate, and we tend to do better when there is some late news and we can figure out our swaps on the fly while everybody else is scrambling. So I am excited for this slate tonight, not just from the prop perspective, but for DFS as well.
I also noticed if you sort by value, there's a ton of Memphis and a ton of Golden State near the top, which makes me like DeJounte Murray even that much more. Because if you're already going to those Memphis value plays, now you have the perfect bring back to help keep the game close, keep it competitive, and just kind of raise that game environment as a whole, which is kind of what the GPP scores and our value projections are saying here. It's being driven largely by this game environment as a whole. So kind of love that game stack, and it seems like we have the value to go Jokic plus that game stack plus some value.
Yeah, and we might get enough value by the time we get to lock, man. I might have Wemby Jokic lineups. We'll see. Yeah. But I think it's going to be a fun one. You can, of course, all of our subscribers, we'll get all of that discussion in here later this afternoon. But Alex, anything else for you to round out our Christmas week of the Daily Dime?
Yeah, just want to give a reminder here to Zed. We did a priority list of the picks that we gave out. So even if you missed a little bit and kind of want to know exactly what we're doing, you can go back, kind of hear the priorities. And then, of course, once we actually make the plays and we put them in the tracker, you'll get them in Discord exactly as we have played them, just like always as well.
Awesome. All right, everybody. We got to get Alex out here to go turn on Sirius Fantasy Sports Radio. You're going to hear Alex. You'll hear Dane and Mike Randall talking some football here leading up to another big weekend. Look, championship weekend in your season longs. Good luck to everybody. I got 4 myself. So looking forward to this weekend and looking forward to tonight. Appreciate everybody tuning in, whether you caught us live or on the replay. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, repost on Twitter. We'll see you back here on Monday for another edition of the FTN Daily Dime. Enjoy your weekend. Goodbye.